Okay, good evening and welcome to a live podcast. I'm your host, Bob Pace, and I got Danielle Watt from Georgia joining me. I'm from
Mhm.
California, and we got a guest tonight, Bella's mom, and she's from California. She's from Northern California,
Yes,
and
ma'am.
she's going to tell about her case. And all you that have found us, you found us through Facebook, Fight CPS. I'm glad you did because that's what we're here to talk about. And um, we are broadcast on YouTube, and we're using the Steam Yard application. And so you can make comments by texting them into us. All I ask is your name and your city and state. And if you're from an international country, that's great. I have countries right now that are participating that have CBS problems. That's Australia, Canada, United Kingdom, Ghana,
Denmark.
Mexico, Mozambique, and Denmark. Those are the countries that have been actively commenting in, and they have similar problems that we do. So it's kind of nice to do that. What we are is that
Mhm.
both Danielle and myself have been through a very horrid CPS case. Danielle's case was a little bit different than mine. She had a son that was taken from her after her mom died, and she was trying to get it back, and he was interstate shipped from Georgia
To
to
Texas.
Texas.
Texas. Hmm.
And so what happened is that he got lost in the system because he turned 18. He's a special needs kid, and he needs his mom to take care of him. So she's trying to be his adult guardian. She's trying to get adult guardianship of him. She has a brother that she takes care of also that has special needs. So she's a really special mom with a big heart, and she knows all about that CPS, the interstate thing about shipping kids. And so she's really good about
I
that. So
see.
hopefully her knowledge will help. And in my case was unnecessary taking away my children. They were actually stolen or trafficking my children. They were not in extreme harm. It was neglect, and it was my parents' belongings that was causing the neglect. They were dying, and I was trying to ship their things out. Meanwhile, I had lost a job, so I didn't have money for storage. So I had my parents' belongings in my house, and the CPS thought that was wrong. And so I found out through my 14 years of CPS they're very corrupt. I've talked to over 500 people in different, almost all 50 states and 7 countries, and I've not heard. I had a CPS worker on here once a couple weeks ago. It was great. She was from Maryland, and she talked about how they do things differently. I was glad to have her. And I've had a few of you call me back with results of what information you got and that you got your kids back. So I know what we talk about is helping. Now, CPS, what I mean by CPS, I mean the Child Protection System. In California, it's called CPS, Child Protection Services, but in Georgia, it's called DCF.
Oh,
Um,
yes,
Go ahead.
yes. Yeah, that's right.
DCF, right. And
Yeah.
so when I say CPS, I mean all the states, the agency. And this is an agency that is from the federal government that's supposed to protect our children from abuse and neglect and also do
Keep the
something
families
called
together.
reunify,
Oh,
family
so cool.
reunification. And that is the
Family
key.
first.
We want to make sure that because parents are so abused by CPS and so forth. And we're very anxious to hear. Now, besides comment, if you want to be on the show, like Bella Mom is, all you have to do is contact my producer, Grace. She's a hard worker and she'll help you get on the show. I have 14 shows a week, twice a day. They're at 10 in the morning, at 7 o'clock at night for 1 hour for Pacific Standard Time. Sunday, I come on early at 8 a.m. And so, um, if
Really?
you want to be on the show, just email to grace at vincentwdavis.com. That's grace at vincentwdavis.com. And so you can be on the show. I also want to thank Mr. Vincent Davis for producing this podcast. He is a family law attorney. His law firm, Vincent W. Davis and Associates, produces this podcast. And you can call him at 888-888-6582. He will talk to you. He will help you. I'll talk to you about him more. But, you know, I really thank him for being there. Okay, with that further ado, I think I've talked enough. And now it's Bella Mom. to start from the beginning about your case, your children, the allegations of what's going on.
Hi, Mr. Pace. Thank you for letting me talk to you tonight. Um,
Hmm.
this county is I think one of the top corrupt counties, along with like LA and that area. Um, I believe is honestly like a retaliatory seizure of my daughter. Just to make a brief history a little bit, 3 years ago, my son was taken by CPS when he was in his father's care, and they broke so many laws and so many rules, and
What
I
were the
fought them
allegations?
for.
What were the allegations he's
Um,
taken from his father?
they were WICG, and I believe it was I can't guarantee you, but it was just neglect. And they said I wasn't there when they tried to reach out to me, but it was 4 o'clock in the morning when they detained my son. I didn't wake up till the next day because I have a daughter too. And I didn't
Okay.
wake up the next day, honestly, till like 9, 10 o'clock. And by the time I called them, it was too late. They had already taken him into the system. I
Well, what
fought
did
for
you do
18
for
months.
neglect? What did your husband do for neglect?
It was just his dad. Just we co-parented. He went out and shot a weapon out of a vehicle, was supposedly, but was found that he didn't. But because of prior charges, he still ended up going to jail for it. So did the other guy, but he was in there for a couple years. That was his neglect, and that's how my son got taken.
Well, I think if it was
There
four
was
o'clock in the
a
morning or
lot.
earlier in the morning, you should be out with your child in that morning, especially with a firearm.
Oh no, he wasn't with our son. Our son was at the house, but there was other adults that were part of the CPS case is the corruption that lived at that house. They had power in the foster systems that it backed up, and a lot of the key players in this case ended up actually not returning to work. Was what the human services lead guy there, he never showed up to work after I called him the previous day and asked him for answers. I demanded answers where my son was taken, and instead of answering me, he resigned the next day. The
Nobody.
county council in this case, I proved her to be lying about me at detrimental points in my case and was keeping my son detained because of those lies. When I confronted the DA's office about it and said the proof I have is in my appeal in front of you as well as it is in front of me, the next day she no longer worked for the DA's office. This courthouse goes as far as they tried to block my appeal with my son's case and say that I didn't file it right when I had to go and file it myself. My counsel didn't help. And when I filed it, they never even notified me to say that it supposedly wasn't in time.
That's
I
they're trying to
backroaded them and I sent everything to the Fifth Appellate District Courts by phone pictures. And
stay on
their
them.
head dependency lady called the courthouse and said, no, you'll honor it. And I still wasn't granted my Marsden hearing, and parts of my appeals say why. After 18 months, I was able to finally prove a paper trail, was granted it, and by that time, too many time limits had passed, and I lost everything in
Yeah,
my son. They had me unnecessarily drug test, and when I told them after the second time I drug tested and it came out dirty, I said, "There's no way." My mom and I both were like right there. Said, "There's no way." There was
Were
an all
these your
county
drug
letter
tests or
sent
were
out, a
these the
bulletin sent out that
CPS drug
said
tests?
the ones they,
Were
the
they the
ones
CPS drug
these were
tests or your drug
CPSs.
tests? Well, that's the
Yes,
mistake, and he
no, they
probably
were
didn't know that.
CPSs.
You don't do
Yeah,
a
yeah,
CPS
'cause
drug
they
test. It's a
always
waste of time. You need to do
they
your own
yeah,
with your own
I
doctor.
know. Yeah, I can't afford it, unfortunately. And the kicker to the whole thing is that was one of their main reasons to keep my son. And it was later proved that, and the facility was shut down, that they were actually forging these tests in this county for CPS. And it was sent out on all counties bulletin letter, and all my time limits missed out with my son. My
and,
appellate lawyer and
and you
everything said,
said
be
18
careful, because
months.
yeah, it was the hearing. I want to say it was right before the 2-6 hearing. And at that hearing, CPS, I had them, I just didn't have the money, the resources to get them at the end. They
Well,
said
when they
I
came
stopped them
by,
at every court case.
how did they take your son when they came by the house? How did they take your son?
they took him from his father's house, from the woman they were staying with, which was
Okay,
a
wait.
CPS
I'm confused
worker
now.
promoted to
You
foster
guys
care.
living in, okay. Are you guys living in 2 different houses?
Yeah, that's the same thing that just happened last week with my
Oh, and
daughter. They just took my
I don't know
daughter.
that. So why did they come to the father's house? Is because they got word that he's shooting off guns when he's driving a car, or what?
Yeah, they got police calls
And how long ago was this
Okay, so
case
the
with your
police
son?
calls
3 years
came out,
ago.
and and of course automatically call CPS because the police
Mm.
probably saw your son with him. Now, why was he taking him with him from the house?
No, my son wasn't there. They resided with my son's what would be his aunt-in-law, but the aunt-in-law, they has known my father's dad for 20 plus years, is a CPS worker that was just promoted to foster care.
Oh, so
And
she
I
now
had
is the inside source that is corrupting the whole situation. Yeah, that's the hard
and I
part.
had it proven them to the T. She up and left a house. She just paid off a F-150. She just paid off everything in it and relocated 3,000 miles away with 3 kids and into a Nephrom that was put on my case for my son
Were
that
they
had
their
nothing to
kids?
do with
Were
it.
they her
That was her
kids?
daughter.
Was it her kids?
No, they were originally foster children of hers.
So this
When she was a
social
CPS
worker,
worker, she started collecting
3,000
kids.
miles. So this social worker went 3,000
Wow.
miles and stole 3 foster kids.
They,
Did she
I
have?
believe it ended up after about 10 years became her adoptive kids, but they had started off as 3 foster children that
Well,
she
who were
she
the
picked up,
parents of
and
those
we were told
children?
she kidnapped. I'm not sure.
Well,
One of
yeah,
the
she did.
brothers, the biological brother, um, reached out to us and said that she had done that to his younger sibling that was in her care.
Oh,
That the worker had kidnapped him when he was little, and we honestly didn't
wow.
believe him. We just thought he was out to cause problems until it
So
happened with
not only
my
you're trying
son.
to take off your care of your kids, you have a very corrupt CPS system in your area.
Yes,
Right.
yes,
How were
we
the
do. We
police?
honestly do.
Were the police very
Sounds
corrupt?
It, that's a hit and miss. Honestly, there are some good ones, but the
Okay.
majority of them, they're in somebody's pocket. Honestly, in this town, it's called the good old boys town, and we can
Oh,
write like revisions, I guess, to our laws here, and that's what makes it
wow.
so hard here.
And it's
It
so
is just a
it's like they
nightmare.
write it, they fix it to accommodate their needs and
Yeah,
to accommodate
exactly,
them. And
exactly. And
wow.
unless you're
well,
one
what
of the
happened to the
originals
son's
from this
father? Was
town,
the son's father arrested?
yeah, he was arrested.
And they said they couldn't find you at 4 o'clock in the morning.
Yeah, I was asleep. Nobody even called my phone until 10 the next day, and I kept all the proof,
They
everything.
didn't
And
do a safety plan with your son.
No,
Do you know
they
what a
wouldn't take
safety
and
our
she said
plan
custody
is?
arrangement.
You know what a
Yeah,
safety
she said
plan
they
is?
just took his
They're
her
supposed to
daughter
have a
yeah,
last
meeting
week.
with you and your
yeah, they
husband
just
because
sold
the
her.
biological parents and determine where the child will stay. And you're supposed to provide them a list of family members, relatives that the child could stay with. They could stay with
Yeah,
you because you had nothing going on at your home. I don't understand
yeah.
that at all. If you're fine at your
And
home,
and I kept full custody of my daughter that whole time. I had full custody of my daughter until they took her a week
How
ago.
old's your daughter?
And
How
that's
old's
why
just
your
did they
it.
daughter?
take your daughter?
She's
Why did they
9.
take your daughter?
A week
9.
a week ago.
A week
Why?
ago, they took her now. They
Why
Why?
are
came
they
out. Uh, they came out because they got a call from my oldest daughter who resides in Texas and has some mental issues, and she's not on medication. She's away from family on an army base. Her husband's been deployed, and her and her little sister were on one of the social medias, and to be frank, she heard us having intercourse. Well, we thought she was outside. Well, my oldest blew it out of proportion, and there were screenshots of the messages they were sending back and forth. But there are some that are cut out of the messages because I myself, when I got the call from my mom saying, you know, your daughter's calling around telling everybody she heard you guys, and she was calling me to let me know what my oldest was saying. So I went immediately, and I looked to see what they were talking about. And I didn't think about it until the next day, and I went back and screenshotted everything. And they came out that following day, that night. They came out and gave the allegations to us. We were at her
Wow.
father's house when they came out, which is not our address at all. We talked to the worker. We hadn't gone into the house, but we got the phone call from my daughter and the babysitter. I was on my way to the emergency room, and we got the call from them saying the CPS was there, and we turned around and came immediately back. We were confronted with them in the driveway, and we hadn't stepped foot into the house because we weren't worried about our daughter. She was in the house. She was with a responsible lady that was watching her. You know, we weren't worried about her. We were finding out what was going on. We were upset about that. We talked to the lady and the deputy for a good probably 45 minutes, and this is going on 10 o'clock at night. You know, last one was to see my daughter with
Hey.
them. We signed a safety
Wow.
plan with her. She walked away with the deputy, and I'm thinking the whole time, okay, we got witnesses, we got body cams now. She walked away with the deputy, made a phone call to a supervisor, got an okay to follow us about 15 minutes away into another town to our actual residence to make sure like it was safe. There was
Why
food,
did
there was everything.
why did you give them your daughter? Why did you give them?
They took her because we didn't know her physical location on her father's property because
Wait,
they
I don't
went to
need
the backyard.
Why do you know about the law that says they cannot take your child unless they have a warrant?
Yeah,
Do you know about that?
exigency clauses. Yeah, I know about it, and I can't get nobody to listen. There were none because she got an okay and promised to follow us to the next town and got okayed by her supervisor. That's why I want that body cam so bad. My lawyer refuses to get it.
Did you ask to see the
You have a
warrant?
court appointed.
I have a court appointed. That was the one I got last time on the Marsden, and unfortunately, it's the same deal. And
Yeah,
I can't get
unless you get
help.
a real
I don't
attorney.
have zeros.
A court-appointed attorney is wasted time. They work against you.
It is.
They have
And if
caseload.
it, especially with it being the same one that was on the case before with her son.
Yeah, I know. And when we went into the case, I told the dad, I said, you know what, you go first. I said, because we can always recuse the lawyer, you know, and say because of prejudice from the previous case. I said, there's only 3 in this county that can work it. I said, that will give one of us at least the opportunity to have an out-of-county lawyer, you know, maybe it would help. His lawyer hasn't called either. I mean, I knew of, and I made noise to my lawyer at the detention hearing, which was the last one we're at. We're going up against the jurists, and they combined the jurists and dispos here. And I raised mention and noise to the fact.
Okay, can you stop for a second? You're in dependency court. There's no juries in dependency court. So what do you mean they're going up against the jury? The what?
No, we're going up against the jurist dispo hearing. The jurisdictional and dispositional hearing, they combine here.
Right. I thought you said that there was a jury, and I was going to sit there and say the CPS.
No, I wish there was.
So they have the jurisdiction and the disposition hearing together. Oh wow.
Yeah, they do.
I mean,
and the last court date, it sucks the way they do it here. And I have
going against you. You have a lot of things. First of all, your husband. Are you divorced from your husband, or is he just a boyfriend?
No, he's just the biological father. Right, okay. Yeah, and he's not the one pertaining to my son either.
That did criminal charges, and his poor choice, that's working against you. You said you had a previous.
No, they're
CPS.
Not the same father, but they both have histories. They're different fathers, but he's.
Well, I understand.
My daughter's father isn't the.
Right, I agree. I'm talking about your son and your daughter, and talking about 2 fathers who seem to be really not helping you at all. They could care less, and so you are by yourself.
Well, my son's dad does now.
Do you have any family members that can help you?
Yeah, my mom and her husband, that Granny and Papa, they were there that night when we signed the safety plan. My mom and I both signed under the agreement and under the understanding that they were following us to our residence. Because after I've been screwed over so much by CPS with my son, I told my daughter's father, I said, don't sign anything. This is not our residence. This is yours and your mother's residence. Therefore, it shouldn't apply because there's no exigency circumstances from a phone call saying our daughter overheard us having sex. I said, almost, I bet half of your viewers at one point or another in their childhood or their children's childhood has walked in on their parents having sex, if not heard them. There's nothing that says you're a horrible parent
Yeah.
because of that. So I told him, I said, don't find nothing. There's no reason to come and search your house. They'll take them for our dinner dishes or something, the laundry in the bathroom. I said, don't give them any reason.
And they'll
I
falsify
said,
information.
exactly. I said, so I had them note the safety plan that was that address. And they said, that's because where the calls were alleged from. And it's like, okay, but your calls don't meet exigency circumstances. So what does that have? And then they go, oh, well, your daughter said this. Your daughter says this after. And it's, oh, my daughter said they hopped a fence and they were trying to flee. No, my daughter didn't say that. And I forget what exact language they use, but moms know their children the way they speak.
Yes.
There's pattern. I'm sure you remember, Mr. Hayes, like how your children speak, yeah. And I was like, no, my daughter doesn't use that words, and they never, an investigator never came out and investigated his property, or they would see that his property is like a half acre and there's an inside backyard that's fenced for the dogs. So they don't go into the far back of the property where there's a vegetable garden and stuff. They didn't take that into account.
Right. I'm going to pause you for a second because I want to welcome two people that have text messages. One is Laura Pounds, and she sounds like she's a grandmother who has a grandson who's taken from her, and that she has a 3-year-old felony, nothing to do with the children. Okay, so there is a grandmother who has been incarcerated a while ago, but she has her grandson that was taken from her. I don't know if she had a producer there. I'd like to know the city and state you're talking about, Laura. Be really great. And Lee Meaning, welcome. I'd like to know the city and state. I'd ask for people that text in to give the city and state. And this is about CPS and how they help out. If we have somebody here, Bella Mom, on their help. It's not necessarily about me, and I'm sorry that you don't think I'm actively listening, but I am very well listening. And so, Lee, if you have a CPS question, please ask it. Also, please tell me the city and state. Laura says
he was taken from her son.
Right. So it is a grandmother, and she's from Rockport, Indiana. Welcome from Rockport, Indiana. That is a really, we've had several people from Indiana, and I'm glad to have you there, Laura. If you ask your question, we'll try to help you. Meanwhile, Bella Mom, you said that your daughter was recently taken, your son's been taken. So what step are you at now with CPS? What step are you at now?
I'm not. I don't know what to do. I want to raise awareness to the judge because I know everything I've read. At least they're supposed to go by the laws and the elements of the case. And on face value, looking at it, there were no exigency, no warrant, no nothing. And I just keep getting back and forth on why she was taken. And there was dirt under her fingernails. Well, this is a country, not a city area.
Have you been
and she was outside in the backyard playing.
Since
yes, I have. I have 4 notebooks in a week.
Okay. And make sure since your attorney is not apparently going to do it for you, make sure you have like stuff filed in with the courts, like evidence, statement of facts, stuff like that. And if he won't do it for you, you do it yourself. I mean,
Yep, that's what I'm ready to do. I'm ready to file for Marsden as well because I now have actual text messages from myself and between myself and the attorney proving that there's a breakdown, a massive breakdown in communication. So I know I'll have to be granted, or should be granted, a Marsden this time early off, but should and are in this county are 2 different things. Merced County is horrible. And there's no good litigation in this county unless you have like 3 zeros attached to your name, which unfortunately I don't. I'm disabled. I'm only 38. I'll be 39 in August, but I have severe medical issues. I was just in the hospital last week. That's why I didn't meet with you then, Mr. Pace, because I was having foot surgeries again. And I don't have the means, and out here that's an unfortunate situation.
Right. I think both Danielle and I really care for you and are concerned about you. What questions would you like us to help you with?
Is there any specificity that needs to be described on a petition? Because I know I want like the records and I want the police logs and like their report to see, because that's a conflict right there. Is did they detain my daughter or did CPS? Because we were in the assumption she was, by the way she was just mouthful of flamboyant with her arms waving, we're taking her, you know. And she was found
And
on the
who
property. She was
has
just in the backyard, you know.
and your
But
where's your daughter at
she
now? If I mean,
CPS,
since and well, do they have temporary custody of her? Like, have they did the protective
yeah,
removal
I guess,
and all the? I mean, that's court, and that's get on top, like get on, make phone calls, call the courts, get on, because if they're having
yeah.
court dates without you, that's not right.
They haven't yet.
Because
We had our detention hearing, which was the first hearing, and then on May 8th is our juris disposition hearing. And right now, I'm scared to do anything because I was able to prove everything. I was wrongfully accused and lost my son. Now I'm afraid of the same thing happening. So I don't want to take any. They're they're wanting me to drug test and hair follicle test and urine test, and I just got out of the hospital. So I mean, I told her, yeah, I have excuses for that. You know, that's fine. But I'm afraid they'll twist even that on me
Did
somehow.
the
This
hospital take
county
a
said last
picture of
time on a
you?
report
can you get some
that
from
I'm
the like?
sorry.
Can you get your own?
Were you
Can
at
you
the
get your own
hospital?
test
Did they
done?
take a drug test of you?
I'm not sure, honestly. I know I was on like narcotics and stuff, and in this
Well, you
county, if
can ask
you're on
them.
drugs, they don't give
They
you
took the
anything for
drug
pain.
test because maybe they'll show you clear of drugs and you can use that as evidence. You see, you need to build a case and you need to have arguments, and arguments are attachments to your
Yeah,
case. And you got to present those things
with a
to the judge.
factual basis.
Right. Now the judge right
Yeah,
now, the most judges I've talked to are in cahoots with CPS, and they're bad judges. They don't even have the experience.
yeah,
My judge was terrible. He knew all
It's all
about
about
car repair
money.
work and collisions, but he knew nothing about neglect or abuse or how to work with children. Our family reunification. So you may have a bad
exactly.
judge. You can replace judges. You can
I should
replace public attorneys. You can replace the CPS workers. It takes time,
Yeah,
and
I
what you
know, and
need
that's
to
what I
do,
didn't.
stay on.
saying that, is there any way that you can
Yeah,
hire an attorney, a real attorney? And if you, I mean,
no,
I
if
don't.
I could,
I had to sell my house to get my attorney. I had to sell my house to get my attorney.
Can is there like a
I'm actually
local?
living in a medical like shelter right now for I just have foot surgery. You
Okay,
know, I could easily have my mom or somebody help
right?
me, but CPS threatened her even that if I was living there, my daughter wouldn't come back. So I've checked myself into a place where breakfast is at 6 and dinner's at 4:30, and I can't go outside after 10 o'clock at night or hang pictures on the wall just so I can try it
Yeah,
and
I
get
understand.
my daughter to my mom's or something even. You know,
Yeah,
I mean,
And
they're
your mom
threatening and
can't.
forcing me out of my house.
Your mom can't go and do like a kinship or a standby guardian or something until you get
Yeah, that's
like.
that's why I'm living in that shelter because they said if I lived there, she wouldn't be considered. So they forced me out of the house I've lived in for
They
12
can't.
years with my mom and my stepdad.
They have
why did
to
they force you out of your
consider
house?
any
What was
family
wrong with your
members,
house?
anyone you recommended them
Nothing.
to.
We live in a really nice area with we have one of the second largest pools in town and the first bigger pool than ours is the high school. We live in a really upscale neighborhood
Could you get
and
a
there's
credit
nothing
line
wrong
on
with
the
it.
house? Could you get a credit line on the house to pay for a professional attorney?
It's my mom's house. I'm sure they're willing to do anything, but they're both disabled. My stepfather is
I
a
understand.
retired
I understand.
veteran, you know. So
But the
I
thing
don't
is,
think I
I compare fighting CPS like doing a surgery where you need a valve replaced in your heart. A layman can't
yeah.
do heart surgery. You yourself cannot do heart surgery. You need a professional doctor that's been trained and gone through medical school and did an internship and been a mentor for a long period of time. So
Yeah.
explain CPS is like doing open heart surgery because CPS If you know the story of Alice in Wonderland, she falls in a hole, a rabbit hole, and she enters all these doors that go nowhere. She enters all these places
Yeah,
that she doesn't know top to bottom. That's what CPS does. They are very
that's where
corrupt.
I'm at.
They're very,
Yeah.
very, very corrupt. And I know that you're with a corrupt agency like that.
And
But
yeah,
what you can do is you can still fight it. Now, there's a thing. Are you having a hearing coming up anytime soon?
Yes, May 8th. That's why I wanted to try to make something on the
Well,
record
May 8th,
prior, like with an
you can
argument
put
of the law or
together
something.
you can put together all the new evidence, like any programs you
yeah,
completed, any drug tests that you tested that was
anything,
complete. You
any
can put all that there.
any progress you made
Mm.
on your own that they're not going to report, and that your lawyer, you submit that in the
No,
reports. Because
yeah, and last time I went and I enrolled myself when they took my son, I enrolled myself to start parenting classes because
yep,
I was told that would
that's
look
what
better for me, and
yep,
they used it against me. They completely
they
used it against me. That's why I said I'm hesitant on doing anything in this town without knowing the exact laws, and that's why I want to try and make a motion to the
can you
courts or
not
something
change the
prior to the
venue like
jury.
to another county or something?
No,
Like,
because we don't qualify for any of, like, I don't, unless I moved out of county, which I highly doubt they'll even take that as a legitimate change of venue, just for the case. But there's nothing unless I know how to like bring up the legal elements and how to bring those to the attention of the judge, where he could see on face value there was no legal
Right.
standing to take my daughter. I think I'm going to be screwed, honestly, because I
Well,
can't
you
do
are at the
anything. I'm
moment an
right there.
attorney, but you need to talk to your parents and see if they'll take a credit line on your home so you have enough money for a retainer. Also, you can find
I don't know if I
attorneys.
could ask him.
Well, that's fine. You can try. All they can do is say no. There's also attorneys that do pro bono work. Now, what I mean by that is attorneys that don't charge, and if they hear your case, but you got to Google those attorneys, and it's very important
I've
that
tried.
you identify attorneys that are dependency family law attorneys, and
I've
you
tried.
need.
I called the list on the ABA, and the
Well, you
ones
got
I
to do a
talked to said
different
they
kind of
won't do
search.
litigation in the
Yeah, you
county.
got to do a different kind of search. The
have you
search
did it
is you
outside,
have to
like
word it just right.
right in
You
your
have to word
area,
it right.
out of your county? Like, have you
And so
went?
what you
Yeah,
do
I've
is
tried.
you start off with family law pro bono attorneys in your city, and then the next biggest city next to it is the next city next to it Sacramento, or what's the next big city?
And you
No, the
are
next
deemed
cities are
disabled.
Stanislaus County and Fresno County, and I've tried. And the closest one, honestly, is one in San Jose area, and he's not a pro bono, and I don't have the zeros attached to my income, and
Right,
I'm
Are
not going to
you
be
right,
heard
are
in court.
yeah.
are you deemed disabled? Like you are just
Not yet. No, not yet. I've been diagnosed with some disabling um complications in the last couple of years. So I'm going in the process of going and filing for it, but right now I don't have time, honestly, to do it. And I have no means to get there. The place I'm staying at right now has
I know
agreed to help
it's
me file for
exhausting, and
disability.
it's
Yeah. I
Yeah.
can't
yeah,
think about anything right now except for this court and the
I
time limit,
understand.
and I
Because
can't lose
it's
my
time is
daughter.
it's very time sensitive. The CPS
Yeah,
cases, and they I mean
yeah,
they're like criminal court and even like that, but I've never seen
yeah,
it like in 8. And I do understand what they're saying about 18 months, because 18 months is
yeah. It is
like the
so exhausting, and they're trying to use the subsection J that I already had a child taken away and services stopped for. When at the last case with my son, CPS actually dismissed the case against me, but kept him in kinship care. But they're trying to use that on grounds to keep my daughter from me. And I tried
what
to
you
show
need to
him
do is
proof.
that's what I was about to say.
I showed him proof of like her report cards where she has progressively gone up in grade. My daughter is. They said her GPA, because she gets letters or like S's and O's instead of A's and B's. She has
Yeah,
all satisfactory 3 pluses, and her GPA has gone from a 4.4 to a 4.9. She's received the Principal's Award, which is the highest award you can receive in
Yes, it
elementary
is.
school, and she's received
Yes, it is.
that twice. Once in TK right after her brother was taken, and once this year. She's received numerous accelerated reader excellence and learning and reading awards, and she received 3 of those this year. She's received a total of 4 awards this year. She has IEP classes because she's deaf almost all the way in one ear, and even her levels on pronunciations have gone up from like 20% at the beginning of the year to 90 now. Her reading levels have gone up and they're above standards, but that doesn't show that I'm not abusing her. I mean, if they even looked at my receipts, I get like $500, 300 of it last month I spent on my daughter. I mean, I love spending stuff on her, and it doesn't
your
matter to
case with your
them.
son, the things that you bettered yourself in between both cases, maybe document, like, do like a pro and con, like the good things that you changed, and focus also on yourself and where you changed as the mother from your first case to this case, and think about possibly submitting like a statement of fact that what you changed in, and on the good for like where you made changes in your life. You know what I mean? From the
That's
first
part
this,
of it
and
too.
what you're gonna
I don't
do,
go
and have you made a
anywhere.
parenting plan as yourself? Like for you, like you can make a parenting plan that what your routine is going to be, how you can care for your child, what you're going to do to make things, or what you can do better next time. Like if you ever faced with this dilemma and that, and from the first time, because it seems like they're focusing on that your son's case, and then this one they're just gonna
I think that's what.
rush through.
Yeah, they're trying to base that on why they're keeping her. And it's.
Yeah.
I would put your life now, and then where have you bettered yourself? Where have you made things better from that first case? Like what have you worked on? What do you still need to work on? I mean, pick and choose your
Those are
battles.
things
Like
I can
create a plan for
like
this.
show them. Yeah, those are things I can show them, but I don't go out. I've been a stay-at-home mom for most of my life, and that's where my all my businesses. I mean, I've planted gardens for my mom and helps with the yards and stuff. And I spent like 3 hours untangling Christmas lights, and organizing garage for them and stuff, like helping my parents. But I haven't worked. I don't go out in the community. There's not a lot of options to really go out in this town. And most I've done, like that I can show with like articulable, tangible evidence is I spent numerous hours. I'd say probably at least a week's worth of time. And I went and I did online classes at one of the child abuse like online schoolings, and I received 18 certificates, under webinars and different things I've studied, but none of that matters either in child development.
But when I say a parenting plan, it's how you are going to go about taking care of your child on a daily routine. Like, what are you going to do from the time they get up? What about when they have a doctor's appointment? That's like, and break that down, and that will be a big step it should make a big difference in your case between your daughter and your son, especially because if you make that initiative and not just take the E for effort, like make it happen. Like you be the one, you take the bull by the horns, and you take over your case. You're gonna have to. Don't give up on that baby. That's and show them that you can do it. Like your mom, you're superhero. Like you're super mom. That's what our kids look up to us as. So you and prove to the courts what's up. Don't let nothing hold you back.
Yeah.
And what they're wanting to see
my
is
daughter, my daughter, since she's been in TK, she's been in the same school, and that's when COVID started. Well, I'm the mom that they said, oh, we can't pass out goodie bags in kindergarten. And they said we can't pass them out in class. Well, I sit out in front of the school and pass them out after class.
Mhm.
And the teachers in the office loved it because they knew I was working around that little rule right now. But that's something kids have to have growing up. It was goodie bags. And I'd go and spend $100 on dang goodie bags for kindergartners. But I loved doing that. And I've done that every year, every holiday since she was in TK.
Right.
And they look forward to that. And it's things
Yeah.
like that, or things like her ear appointments. I've been battling, me and her doctor had been advocates for each other for Bella, and we've been battling the doctors out here because there were so many wait times,
And
and we managed to work together and we got her an appointment that it was the last appointment she had had. We waited
can you
3 months for an appointment to take her 150 miles away for a 40-minute appointment, and that was 4 hours of drive time for 40 minutes. And we kept it for 3 months and made a follow up for her. CPS said there was no such appointment.
and
She missed a day of
and
school after CPS took her
now
too.
these
Yeah.
people that were advocating with you can they be like a good character witness for
Expert
you?
witnesses.
Well, character witness,
I was hoping.
to describe and say about you and how you are with the kid. That's another big thing that can help out, like give you a good, they is that some.
Yeah, I
I
was
mean,
hoping, and
needs
the same pediatrician's been the same pediatrician for my son too, and the county said they wouldn't pay for an expert witness. And they're violating due process laws. I have it up. I have every paper trail for it.
Call a witness
Constitutional laws, everything. I know that's what they violated at the detention hearing. We got 2 different paperworks, and I have them to submit as proof, but my lawyer says she won't. One was to myself, one was to the father, giving us the rights and rules and everything at a detention hearing to be able to present evidence, cross-examine everything.
Have they ever tried to backdate?
They violated.
Danielle, can we pause for a second
Yeah.
and Bill them on, because I have a bunch of people that have texted in and we need to answer them. Laura Pound said at about 7:30, my grandson was taken from my son for a call-in saying he had a bruise on his face and was acting funny. I try to get him like placement. He's at my house a lot, but he has his own room and is a level 3 autism. Okay, she further said
And he's
autism
nonverbal.
and nonverbal. And then we have a new person, Gennaro Nadia. I don't know where she's from, if she could give her city and state. And she says, I'm thinking about praying. Okay, pray does work. Prayer is good. And Laura came back. Can they not let him stay with me because of a felony that's 3 years old? They can stay with somebody who has a felony as long as the felony has been satisfied, as long as you have a release. If you don't have any more
there's that
on it,
new legislation law in California too that is supposed to trump that for placement with relatives as well.
Right.
And a
So,
bump on
Laura,
his cheek or a bruise on his cheek should be normal depending on his age and especially with his autism.
Yeah. So Laura, I know you're a grandparent, you have a felony, but if it's 3 years old and you've already satisfied everything, you got the paperwork to support it, show that to them. The child should stay with them.
That's what they.
Yeah, make sure depending on his age, it could be considered normal bruises. Especially with his disabilities and handicaps, they shouldn't take for that.
No,
I would definitely talk to your pediatrician.
They can't hold the felony against you because I have a record, and as long as you are if you're on probation or if you're in compliance, as long as you're in good standing, and you're
or completed,
run or you're right, and
Laura, haven't murdered the child's father or something.
Right. No violent.
Laura Pounds is from Rockville, Indiana. We still don't know where Lee Meany or what his CPS question is. And we don't have anything on real Gina Natalie. I don't know where you're from and what your CPS questions. When you guys are texting in, put down the location you're at. If you don't want to say the city or county, just put the state or the country. And then also put down the question you want answered, what you'd like to want answered on that. So right now we've had Bella mom talk about her case. She has 2 children that are taken from her for reasons not acceptable. They should be in her care. I don't know why they aren't in your care. I mean, Do you take them to school? Is that how they get to school? Do you
Yeah, well, my son wasn't aged for school yet when he was taken, but yes, I've taken my daughter to school every day. We
right.
live 3 blocks
So
from
you
her school.
so you have transportation, and you say you have your
Yes,
home. It's your mother's home. They have their own room,
yes,
right? And you feed them, and you take
yes,
them if they need to go to the doctors. You take them to the doctors.
And that's true.
That's all. You need
yep.
to present that information to the judge.
Make
You
a
need to
parent.
I
present
tried to
that.
present it to my lawyer as proof, and she won't accept it. And I know that's
Well,
She
you're
unacceptable.
gonna
can't.
have to
So
go.
how do I
I hate to
present
say
it?
it.
You know.
You got to get another lawyer. Okay, if you're going to
You
use
can't
I
request a
know.
court-appointed lawyer, you may have to go through 10 of them till you get the right
Yes,
attorney
you
that will fight
can.
for you.
You
Because one
can
guy
get.
on the
That's
show
what I'm
said he went
trying.
through. One guy who said he went through 18 attorneys to finally get one that would work for him. So
I
if they
wanted my
want to,
daughter home as quick as possible, but right now the only way I think I'm going to end up with her home is taking some time to fight them because I'm tired of this
yes.
happening.
Well, I know that we all
You
have.
know?
I mean, I fought
Or
3
get her
years.
place with your
I
mom.
only got 2 of my
Your
3
mom.
children back. I
Yeah.
only got 2 of my 3 children back,
Get her.
and I
Get her
fought
with a
for 3
relative.
years.
Get her with family.
I'm
Get her with
trying.
family. Like, don't let them try to place
Yeah,
her. Like,
it's
they sent my son off to
Don't
Texas,
put
4
them in a
states away from
foster
me.
care. Move them out of state.
Yeah,
Don't
don't
do
son
let
that.
is
them
too. My son's
get
in
him with
foster care.
my.
Yeah.
I mean,
Yeah,
they took my
they
son,
wouldn't
and
accept any of our advice for who to place him with. They actually put the CPS foster care lady's daughter that was 3,000 miles away as our nephrom.
they
They wouldn't accept
they,
our answers.
they
Wow.
said there was no relatives willing or able with my son, and they never.
Exactly.
Yeah. So,
That's what they said to me
and
too.
they were
Yep.
trying to find
So
me
nothing I
specifically.
say to this county, this court, is going to make a difference. I'm just wondering, is there anything I can
Why don't
file
you
or
get?
put a
Why don't
stay
you get in
right now
contact
on
with
the
your
court?
senators? Your
Now, as
senators,
far
like
as
I
any
actually
motions
last
or
time
anything,
I was in contact with one of our I forget what the legal term was, but she's going for legislation now, Ana Caballero's office with my last case and vote for
they
her.
do have
Like, yeah,
subcommittees,
she actually
and
got blocked trying to find out any answers for me as well last time by this courthouse. They do
because
everything and anything they can for that IV funding
yeah,
here.
and
And it's horrible.
yeah, exactly, and that's like I had a news story that I was on the news about my case, my situation, and they did a
I
whole
tried.
news
Nobody would
story.
take mine.
They
yeah.
and John Ossoff in Georgia, he's a senator. Do we have to have a question? But John Ossoff and Martha Blackburn, I've been in the DCF out here in Georgia told the John Ossoff subcommittee that the concern in my case was satisfactorily resolved and it was taken care of, and like that's
Yeah.
what they told, and that's what
Like
they've
this
been saying a lot.
county.
It's horrible.
Yep, this county said I didn't do any of the reunification with my son. When I had picture proofs, we had a ball every time. I had to bring like Mary Poppins bags because their visitation center is an empty room here. So we have to bring our own stuff, but I made it blast every time. I've got pictures of the last Christmas that we seen my son, which was 2021, that Christmas, of my mom and my daughter saying Merry Christmas through a window because they wouldn't allow them in for Christmas. And
Like,
Wow.
it's heart
Wow.
wrenching.
yeah,
You know, they go
is.
out of their way in this county,
I've
and I just need
I've
help.
I've
You know,
my
I'm ready to
son's
go
been up
pro
to
se.
Texas, and
Yeah,
if you're strong enough and you have the knowledge, if you feel like you,
I'm
hey,
trying.
work hard, but
Yeah, I'm trying.
don't give up. Just do
Well,
not
your
give up.
first step
Never.
is to be on the show. That's a big undertaking. And to
Yep,
sit here
and
and tell about your story to
Yeah,
right,
strangers is another big undertaking.
yeah.
But
reaching out.
you
That's what I'm
definitely love
hoping
your
is people.
child.
We can all unite. You know, we can
Right.
unite
Look,
against them and call
we
the
all
FBI
started.
and make this aware.
I started at where you're at a year ago, and to where I'm at now, and I've gained because I couldn't tell you nothing back when this first. I mean, I was like clueless. I never had to deal with this,
Yeah.
and I started getting and just asking questions and researching and finding out what's
Yep.
up. Because when my situation started, it was like boom, boom, boom. Everything went so fast, and I didn't even
So did mine.
it. The only and I thank the good Lord, but And my son did turn 18 and that is, I believe, what saved my child from me losing him for good. Is the fact that he did turn into an adult, because it was just everything that was done. It was just so, it was like a boom, 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 and I'm like, man, and I knew nothing.
That's what happened with my boy, and I know logically looking at it, this much time has passed. My son doesn't know me, doesn't know his mommy anymore. I'm the one that spent a month in the NICU, in Ronald McDonald's house with him, doing kangaroo care in my shirt. I did the same thing with my daughter. I spent a month with her in the NICU. Those are bonds that
they know you still care. They know you still care.
Yeah. And my son,
I'll always love him. He'll always be my son, just like she'll always be my daughter. But he doesn't know his mommy. And
he does. Trust me. These kids, they don't forget us or parents, and we carried them for 9 months, and just because we have them in our hearts, and we're always with them, because there is going to be that day. Just keep fighting and don't give up.
I gave him the book, "I Love You Forever, I'll Like You for Always, as long as I'm living. My mommy, or my baby, you'll be." I'll always be their mommy, no matter what.
Yeah.
And my daughter.
Okay, I have Mina that has text again. I still don't know what city or state he's from. I'd asked that from the beginning so I could help questions, but he says, do we need a question to watch or comment? No, you don't need any question. You can sit there quietly and observe, or if you like to have a question, you like to have it answered, you could tell us. And you didn't read my previous comment. Well, your previous comment, I think, was her. And I knew that you were talking about the lady that's talking, and her. Yeah, I did read that. So I'm trying my best to work with you, Mina. So I have no idea what you wanted to come in this room or what you expect. I've been doing this for a couple of months now. I've talked to over 500 people, and so
I think you're doing a good job, Bob.
Well, if Mina has something, this is a room for questions about child protection services or child protection system and how we can help you. We're not attorneys. We are people that both have experienced firsthand what CPS is like. I'm trying to share my experiences and tell you I have 3 rules. And one of the first rules is rule number 1, that you get an attorney. And it's very important you have an attorney, because you see your public defender won't work for you. And you have to find an attorney. And we have one here that produces the show. His name is Vincent W. Davis. All you do is call him at 888-888-6582 and tell him that Bob Pace sent you. When you speak to Mr. Davis, say Bob Pace sent you. But you'll see how much difference it is. He does offer a 30-minute consultation for $60. 30 minutes for $60. And then he will listen to your case, and he can discuss if there's a retainer, what it is. But he knows the strategies of how to fight CPS and how to get your kids back. He's won cases.
And that's
okay. Well, that's great. You've been woken for 3 or 4 years. I don't know what city or state you're from, Lee, but I'm glad to have you here. If you're watching, you'll know how these shows go. Bellamont, I don't want you to feel discouraged. You said that you take a lot of notes. That's my rule number 2, is you get a notebook and you write down the incident, the date and time, and the people involved. Then you write down what the incident was about, 1 or 2 lines, and then the outcome. It's very, very important. So,
and sign it, the laws you can to back it.
Yeah. But anyway, if you have a notebook and take notes, I did my first year and a half. And I think it's important to have notes, because you'll need it later when you hire an attorney or when you try to fight your case or something there.
Timeline. Timeline.
Dates, timeline really helps too. And then the third rule is that we do not talk to social workers. It's either yes or no answers.
No.
The more you talk to them, the more trouble they get you into. I know they want to tell you and promise things, but I did not. I talked to them too much. What you do is they ask you a question.
That's like say
the answer yes or no. Yes or no.
Yeah. It's like if they ask you what time it is, you just say yes, and that's it. You don't give them specifics of it. You just get straight to the point. Yes,
right,
I do.
Exactly.
You know, that's all
and
they need to know.
Another way you can treat the social workers or a policeman is that, could I have your business card so I can contact my attorney and talk to him first before I talk to you? Then suddenly they clam up because they don't think you have an attorney. But you don't have to say you do. You just say, I want to talk to my attorney. And you can go and find one or do that time to stall in time to get prepared. And so you don't want to talk to them. Also, you don't want them to take your child from your home unless they have a warrant. And it's got to be a special warrant. It's got to be a warrant that very specifically says what you do and the date and time and who they want to take and the allegations. Yeah. And if that's not on there, the judge's signature's not on there, then that's not a true warrant.
Always read.
That's the main point I'm trying to get a hold of, and I don't know how to, is we thought CCSF was taking my daughter when she drove away with her. The report and the workers that unfortunately I just had to speak with today for the social study said it was actually the deputy that detained her. My mom got a call the following day my daughter was detained and said if they could get a hold of me that we could go down and get my daughter. Nobody can remember that phone call, but yet my mom wouldn't have known something like that about the deputy even taking my daughter prior to this petition coming out saying that. And so now I don't know where to go. I tried to call and get the body cam, but I'm considered a suspect, I guess, in this case. So I'm not allowed that. But I know that the deputy's call logs and stuff should say that, and it should have why specifically why he came out and the time of the arrival here and everything, or if he was just assisting DCSF.
When you call, make the follow up with an email so you can have a paper trail there, like
the record
trail.
Yeah, because that's how I did everything last quarter.
So, and I'm
the two-party.
I'll call, but I mostly email or text. I was like, if y'all, I mean, we can both play, and that's what I tell them. I mean, it's kind of
yeah.
I mean, it's
because California is a two-party consent state. So last time when I told them I was recording them, they hung up on me. I sat there and tried to set up YouTube with that beep just so it was audible on the phone, you know, with my boyfriend in the room listening. Can you hear it now? Can you hear it now? I felt like the old cell phone commercials trying to set it up so I had legal backing, you know. That's how desperate I've gotten here. You know, they play nasty, I'll try to play nastier, you know.
Look, I've got 3 devices that are, I mean, and it's, I haven't even, and I carry them with me.
Yeah,
like, I've listened, and then screen recording. I mean, I've even
I do that too. I did screen recording
with my son because my son there for sometimes he'll act like really fidgety and like worried and I can tell something's up.
Yeah.
And there was a visit one time that he did get attacked while on the visit by another person at this facility, and the person was unclothed. So I was just telling my son, and it's on video, it's on the visit. I'm like, hey Hannah, thanks Hannah.
Yeah, nice comment, Hannah from Atlanta. At least
that's Hannah.
You know,
she has her name.
That's what
with
I'm
her
worried
location.
about with my daughter.
So, yeah,
that's, I know Hannah. She I've actually been in I've contacted her a couple times, and we tried to help each other when I first.
Good.
So and thanks for coming in, Hannah. That makes me feel good that people are.
You have a question, Hannah? That'd be great. I'm trying to find out where Lee Mina, who's been on here for 3 or 4 years, where his location is. He's somewhere, I guess, somewhere in the world.
Yeah.
Well, you know,
Hannah,
we got about 2 minutes. We got about a minute left here, and I got to wrap this up. I don't mean to, but I want you to know, Bella, Mom, that you can come back anytime you want. There's 14 shows. You can come back and talk, and I'd love to hear an update and see you get more. I hope there's some ideas that we told that there. Oh boy, we got someone else coming last minute. We got somebody named
What's with the
Manny Quinn.
Because it's nice.
What's with the people that you need to
Let's fit
know
the
the
people that,
location.
yeah, why do we
Well,
ask?
I can tell you why I need to. Okay, there's been a lot of
Just so
stories that CPS workers say they're great and they have no problem. While you give me your location, I pinpointed in my head a map of the United States. And what I've finally concluded that over the 500 people I've talked to every state, it's all the same. They have a problem with the CPS taking
backwards.
insurance, and it's really sad. So, you know, it's okay. If no one wants to give a location, that's fine. It's not mandatory. But my
No.
time's
I'll
up.
gladly Merced, California.
Yeah,
Merced, California, Merced
yeah,
County.
yeah.
Cherokee County, Georgia. Here.
So I want to thank
Texas.
Demanda Quinn, Hannah from Alanda, Lee Mina, Laura Pounds from I think she's from Indiana, and then we had Real Gino. I want to thank for you talking in there, and then I want to thank Laura Pounds. I think I already thanked her. I want to thank all of you, and I want to invite you all tomorrow at 10:00 to come to my podcast, and hopefully there's something you can learn or you can share so other people can benefit from it. God bless you all, and thank you so much for your time there, Danielle and Benamom. This is Bob and Danielle and Bella signing off.